Part 2. The poor little princess was obliged to give way. Then the waiting woman, in a harsh voice, ordered her to take off her royal robes and to put on her own mean garments. Finally, she forced her to swear before heaven that she would not tell a creature at the court what had taken place. Had she not taken the oath, she would have been killed on the spot. But Falada saw all this and marked it. The waiting woman then mounted Falada and put the real bride on her poor jade, and they continued their journey. There was great rejoicing when they arrived at the castle. The prince hurried towards them and lifted the waiting woman from her horse, thinking she was his bride. She was led upstairs, but the real princess had to stay below. The old king looked out of the window and saw the delicate, pretty little creature standing in the courtyard. So he went to the bridal apartments and asked the bride about her companion, who was left standing in the courtyard, and wished to know who she was. "I picked her up on the way and brought her with me for company. Give the girl something to do to keep her from idling." But the old king had no work for her and could not think of anything. At last he said, "I have a little lad who looks after the geese. She may help him." The boy was called Little Conrad, and the real bride was sent with him to look after the geese. Soon after, the false bride said to the prince, "Dear husband, I pray you do me a favor." He answered, "That will I gladly." "Well then, let the knacker be called to cut off the head of the horse I rode. It angered me on the way." Really, she was afraid that the horse would speak and tell of her treatment of the princess. So it was settled, and the faithful Falada had to die. When this came to the ear of the real princess, she promised the knacker a piece of gold if he would do her a slight service. There was a great dark gateway to the town, through which she had to pass every morning and evening. Would he nail up Falada's head in this gateway, so that she might see him as she passed? The knacker promised to do as she wished, and when the horse's head was cut off, he hung it up in the dark gateway. In the early morning, when she and Conrad went through the gateway, she said in passing, "Alas, dear Falada, there thou hangest." And the head answered, "Alas, queen's daughter, there thou gangest. If thy mother knew thy fate, her heart would break with grief so great." Then they passed on out of the town, right into the fields, with the geese. When they reached the meadow, the princess sat down on the grass and let down her hair. It shone like pure gold, and when little Conrad saw it, he was so delighted that he wanted to pluck some out. But she said, "Blow, blow, little breeze, and Conrad's hat seize. Let him join in the chase, while away it is whirled, till my tresses are curled, and I rest in my place." Then came a puff of wind, which carried off Conrad's hat, and he had to run after it. While he was away, the maiden combed and did up her hair, and all this the old king observed. Thereupon he went away unnoticed, and in the evening, when the goose girl came home, he called her aside and asked why she did all these things. End of Part 2.